After years of being highly popular, the MMORPG Infinity game is finally about to shut down. The game's creator, Akira Oono, however, suddenly finds himself sucked into the game's world as his avatar, the demon Lord Hakuto Kunai. The ridiculousness of his situation is made worse when he sees an injured girl being chased by the demon King Grail. He beats up the bad guy and finds out that the girl is named Aku, and he finds himself within the Kingdom of Holy Light. At a very odd time, the police is ruled by a fanatical holy church. While there's also an angel named the Cherub who controls everything, though Kunai doesn't remember creating those things, and realizes that someone else is manipulating the game from the inside. He realizes that someone in the game might have tried to summon a real demon lord, but accidentally managed to summon him instead. Now we learn about Aku. She was a young orphan who was cast out by villagers as a sacrifice. The Grail Ghanaian doesn't care much right away, of course, because he needs to get back into the real world. He heads towards the mages that summoned him, but when he gets there, he finds out that Grail already killed them. A shrine idol cannot send him back home, and he's stuck here for good. The shrine just hands him a magical ring that turns itself into dust. Now Kunai takes Sako back to her village and sees the hatred that the villagers have for her as they curse her and abuse her. This angers Kunai, and his anger awakens the magic ring. He reveals himself as the true demon lord and sets fire to the village before making Ocho his partner and heading out towards the capital city. This is where we're introduced to a woman named Luna Elegant. She's one of the three holy maidens who are seeking out the demon lord in order to defeat him. However, what she doesn't know is that she's being pursued by a one goal, and his bandits would ambush her. They take her by surprise and try to increase the reputation. Gunna is on his way to find another shrine idol in the meantime, hoping to finally find a way home. This leads to a funny thing. Luna is looking for Pune, but Tonight and Aku are looking for a shrine, and eventually Owengo's trap is filled by Aku. What's funny here is that Gu and I mistakes him for his real-life boss, which leads to a weird conversation that is later interrupted by Luna. A fight breaks out, and Kunai realizes he's vulnerable to her magic, though not so much that he would get hurt. He just gets good and defeats her soldiers, then proceeds to spank Luna and steal all of her money. The man is weird munches for certain. Kunai and Aku gets to the capital and spend Luna's money to rent a room and buy food and new clothes. Kunai notices Arquez had a real chromia. They go dining together, and Aku asks how she could repay Tonight for his kindness. However, an enraged Luna catches them and wants her money back, but she's forced to join them to dinner. When threatened with another spanking session, she insists she shares a room with them since it was paid with her gold. Kunai asks Luna about Cherub, and Luna tells him how Cherub died after stealing Grail. But the remaining two angels, Soref and Ofen, still exist. The Holy Maiden Killer Queen arrives in her chariot to drag her little sister Luna back home. However, Tonight comes up with a plan to make lots of money by selling worthless items as antiques to an antiquities dealer. Luna and the Queen start bickering amidst an army of Satanists who believe they failed in summoning the Demon Lord, as they plan to kill both Holy Maidens. Using a sludgy entity known as Hades, Luna claims she tamed the Demon Lord, though her Killer Queen doubted and even doubts his existence. Bam! The cult begins an attack, and Kunai realizes they have the same robes as the ones who summoned him. Cultists unleash Hades, who attacks Luna and Queen. Meanwhile, Kunai's ring attempts to kill the Holy Maidens. He refuses, but the ring paralyzes him, swamping him into another of his Infinity Game avatars known as Zero Kitty Same. The only problem is Zero is overpowered, and he defeats the cultists in moments. While Queen falls in love with him immediately after he treats her like a woman instead of a warrior, Queen decides to make him her husband. Zero transforms back into Tonight when he's mortified at ever creating such an embarrassing character in the game. Luna decides she'll travel with Kunai and Aku. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the bounty hunters debate whether they should accept the bounty for the Demon Lord's head. They decide to hunt for sandwolves instead, which is more up their alley. I guess while they're traveling in Luna's carriage, Tonight disguises Luna as a schoolgirl, so she won't draw any attention to herself. The two bounty hunters and a cross-dressing mage known as Yuki Kaze are in the vicinity hunting sand wolves. The pack is to launch though, and they are forced to flee. But they run into Kunai, who helps them in defeating the wolves for skill points, and then leaves June. I notices that his leg has been healed badly, so she's limping around. He uses his skill points to summon an NPC doctor, who was named God No, who heals her using her technique skill Hand of God Cura. No, it seems like a regular doctor. But she has a weird sadistic fetish for young boys kidding. O is now part of Kun's entourage. But tonight forbids her from killing anyone onto instantly falls in love with Kunai now due to his kindness. And Yu begins to develop a crush on Q, and as well later at night. Onko's sleep is specialized that she gains a rare magical survival skill, known as heroin, not to mention the bounty hunters Meikan, as well as Yuki Kaze, are now amazed by Kun. I thought Econ is a bit now, not that they lost their brownie Utopia. The founder of the satanic cult learns that a certain demon lord killed Grail, who decides to appease Hades by offering all of the capital citizens as a sacrifice tonight, and the rest visit Luna's province at a place called the Rabbi Village. The place is in shambles as Luna has been letting the Holy Church manage it instead of managing it herself. Could I suspect they gave her territory literally no value to keep her out of their way meanwhile? Also deciding that he will help improve the village by adding a hospital and hot spring, he removes the shoddy church manager and learns that the place is populated by bunnies, a form of demi-humans who are considered inferior to humans by the Holy Church. The bunnies are struggling to survive due to poor soil, so Kunai uses his skill points to give them unlimited water and better fertilizer sources. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Luna's older sister holding Maiden Angel White debates on the danger that Q and a Maypose, the head noble named Donna is determined to punish Kunafa, while the head soldier martial arts thinks he should wait and see what kind of man and is for himself. Killer Queen barges in while still being hopelessly in love with Zero, which leaves Angel a bit worried for her sisters while being the Noma Taberna's CSS rank adventures named Mink and Oregon debate about the existence of Dragon Kin and their fights for justice before they're handed a poster of the Demon Lord, Megan and Yuki. Cause they overhear their conversation, Kuni Luna and Yu hold a feast for Aku at a high-class restaurant named Optimus as a celebration for her like being healed. They are joined by EPA-free Butterfly, a noble who Luna explains is a powerful social figure with many connections throughout the kingdom. Kunai decides he will gain her trust and negotiates with her, and tells her about his improvements that he did and should be done for Luna's Raby village. But the surrounding area gets attacked by the satanic cult. Kunai starts fighting them all himself, but sees Mikan and Yuki cause a comment amidst the chaos and decides to help them the cold to summon a mid-tier demon named Carnival, who Nai brutally beats up as everyone cheers around him as they recognize him as the Demon Lord Carnia. An assassin, disguised as a clown, calming the nobles down, approaches the party with the intention of poisoning them. However, you scare him away with a magic trick that involves amputating his arms. Somewhere in the capital, Killer Queen, Mount Fuji and martial arts clear out a horde of undead as Mink defeats another group of Satanists. While he heals members of the church, the surviving cultists regroup and summon the demon Prince Oroji. As their last resort, he lays waste to all of the combatants and destroys Angel White's holy barrier. Tron is ordered by Utopia to fly in and dump Hades onto the combatants, and she does so, while Mark and Queen are trying to hold their ground against Alru and Kudai Swamps. Desert Kitty Sami and defeats O to it within a moment. However, Orit mortally wounds Tron before dying and drains all of her blood to transform herself into what bestial entity Zero revives Tron from death and encourages her to smile despite forgetting how to Zero defeats Orbit once again and strikes a victory pose. Tron is amazed. Meanwhile, Killer Queen is blissfully still in love with him. Goodnight discusses with Angel White as to where they should obtain more information on Zeref, while Angel is still trying to deduce whether he's a danger or a friend to the kingdom and the Holy Church. The conversation ends on good terms, though Angel is still hiding her stress, worrying about his end goal and how he managed to defeat Grail so easily while also taming Luna effortlessly. Goodeye finds that he's collected enough skill points for another NPC and summons a second NPC who unlock the ability to portal to familiar locations all through and through, and I visit the church library to read about the angels and find Kurenai ways to resist magical attacks. He reads Sakurai's story about a dog finding rare treasures in the dungeon, which gives Tonight the idea of such a possibility. On the way back, Tron finds Pune and identifies him as Zero, then insists on traveling with him as a thank you for saving his life. They teleport back to Raby Village, and could I construct a hospital into Hot Springs Resort, he summons an NPC aide named Isami Tahara, who has a fast learning capability and marksmanship skills. To protect Raby Village from damage, Tahara is taken aback by the world around him, and he's frightened when he realizes Yu is with them as well. He is tasked with training the residents of the village with managing and upkeeping the quality of life, which is a bit too much in his opinion. But he accepts after tonight's reassurances. The group greets the hero. While Pune thinks on preparing for Everfreed's arrival, Kunai returns to the capital and sells a music box to Nate and Man and the antiquities dealer they visited before, in exchange for 15 gold coins. He then visits Bingo, the tailor, and requests to make 20 tuxedos and bunny suits. He establishes a food delivery route to Rapid Village and returns to the end for the night. Cool Nice swamps to Zero Kitty-sami again for a while and ponders the time when he used to play as this character. Fast forward to a week later, EPA Free arrives at the renowned Rabiya village. She brings Commando Samba with her, whose blindness is cured by you. Samba was overjoyed, and EP Free pays you with a Holy Land but coin, which is worth 100 gold coins. A flashback from 10 years ago, before the show's events occurs, which shows a 6-year-old Luna with a friend named Eagle rushing to a mansion to buy some bread. They're shunned by the nobles, and Luna retaliates by swearing she'll become a holy maiden as she grows up and get their money. 2 years later, she begins her training, but Eagle is then executed due to being a demi-human. She became a holy maid, and when she was only 10 years old and she was assigned her province, she sees a young Kan and Momo, which remind her of her bond with Eagle. She prayed to cheer for strength, and at this point, a reminiscence is interrupted by Tonight and Epi. Free approaching the hot springs, Luma takes empathy and saw well Angel learns that eBay for his holiday at Rappy Village and thinks that Canny has manipulated her. They'll kill her queen, just tells her that she is saddened by the fact that she hasn't found love yet. He saw me and you converse while working on a map for the development of the village. He suddenly notices that you have a more reformed personality. Now later tonight receives a checkup by you, which devolves into you inappropriately fondling his body cell. Kunai abruptly ends the session by leaving everyone feasts that evening, and Tron goes to the bath and hopes to see Zero, but Tonight carries her back to the women's side. After the bath, Aku goes to sleep with Tonight. They're later joined by Luna, making her own excuses to sleep with him. Kunai leaves the village to explore the capital yet again, leaving the letter behind for Luna and Aku, telling them not to look for him. He encounters Yukikasi and Meek on there. They insist he joins them to the Noma Noma Tavern, where everyone treats Gunna with food, drinks, and respects for defeating Carnival and saving them. Kunai states he's unfamiliar with the Lens Advisor systems and customs. They tell him about the guild and its accepting requests, as well as the fees they have, monster parts, soul rankings, and other guilds competing for the attention of high-ranking adventurers and mercenary work good. I notes how unstable the occupation might be for adventurers up, cause they also mention the state of wartime making traveling north much more treacherous. They also tell him about item classification, about the normal, solid, high-end, unique, and legendary items. Goodnight assigned to the travel north, and Yuki calls a volunteers on joining him as a guide. Meanwhile, at the church, Angel White's anxiety that reaches its limit. She uses her Omega staff to teleport to Luna and rescue her. However, she becomes confused that Robbie Village's state and reformed lifestyle. He saw me mistakes are for a magician hired for help, and tasks are with things to do. Angel eventually finds Luna, but she's confused by Luna's will to stay in the village. Angel is even more confused by seeing Tron here and is forced by Luna to let Kian and Momo escort her to the baths. Angel follows them and finds Q and at the end of the baths. In order to rep Luna of Tonight's influence, she's genuinely embarrassed by the situation. She attempts to interrogate him on his intentions for Luna and be freed, but Tonight maintains composure in front of the naked holy maiden and confesses that they acted on their own accord. Tonight coerces her to bathe and drink some sake to calm her down and to begin talking more normally. She explains her frustrations over being called innocent, hard-headed, and admits that she's incompetent in managing a kingdom on her own. Tonight gifts are an angel halo and an effort to reassure her of her abilities. Before she leaves, Kunai teleports the two back to the capital's Castle Kumi, then decides to confide in Angel that the reason he wants to learn about Sorath is because he believes often I am summoned him into this world. He thinks back to the shrine idol, and all of the angel's misunderstandings come together to confirm Kun's identity as Lucifer Kunai decides to take his leave after Angel is completely smitten with him. She promises to guide him back to what he wants. As Kunai leaves the Samiamu as the village's caretakers, he departs to the northern city of Rookie with Yukikasi and Pekin. He reaches the city and is greeted by heroes led by an overweight young man in modern clothing. Kun is repulsed by the sight. The episode ends with a to be continued. And that's the end of the video. And as a little shout out to myself, I am now streaming live on Twitch. If you guys want to stop by, I play JRPGs and record some scripts live, so you don't maybe stop by and drop a follow. There's a link down in the description to my stream. As always, if you like what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.